Hello and welcome. I'm Hrish, co-founder and CEO of SuperWorld, a virtual world in augmented reality where creativity and entrepreneurship come together on one decentralized platform. From the Empire State Building to the Sydney Opera House to some of the more obscure places on Earth, in SuperWorld, our world is yours. Yours to buy, yours to sell, yours to create, and yours to explore. SuperWorld is mapped on top of the real world to create over 64 billion unique plots of land, with each plot measuring roughly 100 meters by 100 meters of real-world space. To give you an idea, one plot of SuperWorld AR real estate is about the size of Yankee Stadium. Ready to get started? Find land to cultivate for its strategic real estate location as a digital asset or that holds sentimental value for you. Buying and selling virtual real estate in SuperWorld is easy, as all transactions take place securely on the Ethereum blockchain, and every plot of land is represented by a non-fungible token on the ERC 721 standard. Personalize your world in AR through interactive 3D objects, animation, photos, videos, and text to truly make a world of your own. Ready to find your peace on Earth? Join us in SuperWorld.
Hello, hello. We're about to get started here. We've got, there we go, here they come. Everybody make sure you're, everyone.
Howdy.
All right. I think we'll go ahead. We've got a critical mass, although we may be having a few people join us in a bit. I know Krista Kim may be about 20-30 minutes late. So maybe we'll wait just 30 seconds or so before we kick into gear, but I want to first welcome everybody to the first edition / episode of Masters of the Metaverse. I should do that in a cooler voice. Masters of the Metaverse. There you go. And this group that we've got assembled here were culled from the ReadWrite list that was published, I think it was about a couple months ago, that highlights the 30 most influential people in the metaverse. And we're lucky to have this group with us here today. And I'm so excited to talk to you all, and even more so to hear you all talk to each other, because I think we've got, each and all of you are doing tremendous things, within the metaverse. And we're all kind of looking forward to how your unique angle and perspective on the future is coming into play. So I want to thank you all, first of all, for joining us here. It's afternoon for some and morning for others of us. But let's go ahead and I want to introduce who we've got so far, if that's all right. And we'll start off here. Inara Nazarova. Inara is the founder of Armour. Did I pronounce that right, Inara? Okay, great. And the Digital Fashion and Art Club. She also co-hosts Digital Fashion and Art on Clubhouse. Inara fused all her metaverse knowledge into Armour, a digital fashion platform and identity incubator for avatars. Erikan Obo-Tetukudo. Did I get that right? All right. Erikan is a strategic advisor to a portfolio of finance leaders, corporate executives, investors, and tech entrepreneurs. She's working to connect with multicultural and multi-generational audiences worldwide, redefining it in the next 100 years, or perhaps sooner. In March, she founded Audacity, a crypto venture capital fund that invests in Black and African-led crypto startups worldwide. I've got Amber Allen here, who I'm afraid to report is out with possibly pneumonia. We're hoping not, but she couldn't make it today. But sends her regards, and we'll certainly miss her presence and her insights. Next up, we have Teddy Pahagbia, founder of Black Pixel. Black Pixel is a company that helps brands and businesses to transform through digital innovation, including augmented, virtual, and mixed realities, blockchains, artificial intelligence, and advanced data management systems. Evelyn Mora here, thank you, is the inventor of the Village Protocol social blockchain user interface. She founded the Digital Village, a social metaverse with its community-led blockchain technology built to prioritize social and digital sustainability, digital land, and digital assets marketplace. And let's see, we've got Dirk Lewith, a serial entrepreneur who started companies in Europe and the United States and is the co-founder of Upland. Upland is an NFT metaverse property trading game paired with a decentralized economy. It consists of a world-building platform based on blockchain technology where users can buy, sell, trade, and develop virtual properties to earn money and connect with others. And finally, my old friend, Hrish Lotlikar. He's the co-founder and CEO of SuperWorld, a virtual world and augmented reality mapped onto the real world, allowing users to create, discover, and monetize content in augmented reality. And is there anybody here that I'm missing? I think we've covered everybody who's on right now. And so let me just give a little brief introduction about the metaverse, because I know it's a term that gets thrown around now pretty cavalierly by some, whether it's trying to capitalize on the latest buzzword or just out of confusion. But for our purposes, what we're going to try to do in our very own Will Burns came up with what we like to consider the textbook definition, which doesn't mean we can't have debate about it. But the metaverse to us represents an all-encompassing virtual umbrella created by augmented physical reality and physically persistent virtual space, including the sum of all virtual worlds and the internet. And I think that's good. And of course, in the introductions right there, I heard myself saying created a metaverse when I think the more applicable expression should be the metaverse. And so I wanted to, first, again, welcome you all here and just kind of throw the question out there of, despite definitions, despite all the publicity given to the word, how do you characterize the metaverse as it relates to your to the space in which you work? I mean, I think that everybody has different perspectives and ways that they incorporate their specialties and their interests into this metaverse. And just wanted to get a few lines from each of you about how the metaverse applies to you and how would you characterize it?
I'll start. Okay. How do I characterize it? I think it's a little more realistic than even this sort of all-encompassing online everything. I had a really positive experience here at Art Basel where some people there's this character Aku who essentially dreams of going to space, and that all in its own can become its entire world digitally, where there's a story of this kid that goes to space and all the sort of members of his community can virtually exist in space with him. But it was also cool to see that your NFT gave you access to a physical experience, almost like going to an arcade or going to like a Disneyland of sorts. And I felt like that was an experience of like the metaverse and online digital experiences becoming physical and real. And to me, that's actually what I get the most excited about, this like online full immersive experience being felt and had and in community in a physical world. And so I think that the metaverse really just will eventually become just like an online interface with our real world, and hopefully isn't as scary as, frankly, I do think a lot of people are going to turn it into before it becomes like safe.
Interesting. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can go next. So I think if we compare the metaverse to the way that we compare a city, that it has different roads, many different citizens, companies, territories of a city, I think it's now become obvious that it's not going to be built by any one company. So there is now this synergy in the air that it is going to be a very collaborative effort from industries, both AR, VR, immersive tech, crypto, to come together to be able to facilitate all of the layers that are actually needed to navigate this space. So just like Ericon mentioned, like at a lot of the conferences that we've been attending, there's now so much more interest coming from people that haven't been haven't had careers in tech, are very interested in participating as well. So it's really refreshing to see them getting involved and how the metaverse can benefit from those fresh perspectives.
So I think all well said. So what can what to add here? So basically the idea is that the metaverse has been around us probably for a while, and as you correctly said, right, there's not there's one universe, there's one internet, there's one metaverse, right, and all the different applications of the internet that somehow they do something in the metaverse. I can clearly say that what's probably new as a concept, because we had old concept when you think about Second Life, like many years back, 20 years back almost or so, right, there was this virtual worlds which were there, parallel world. I think what's all new and the new dimension is everything, because blockchain has been added to the equation. That means the whole idea of true ownership, which allows people to really act differently in the metaverse, to do something, to create something, because they benefit from it, and not just one game operator or so. So that's one thing which has changed, and I think hopefully, or let's say I'm hopeful, right, in the future that that we move away from, let's say, being application centric. That this is the metaverse, part of the metaverse everyone has to be in. It's more really user centric, everything. So it's really all about a person who takes his identity, who takes his assets, and moves around throughout the metaverse through different experiences, whatever he or she wants to see, right, or wants to experience with others. And that's but that's still a technical challenge, right? Because of course we have lots of we have lots of blockchains out there on one hand, but also the experience is always different, right? When you think about different worlds, sometimes you look very pixelated, when you assume an identity, and others you look more realistic, right? So but at the end of the day, it's still hopefully only one person behind it, and now we have to see, okay, how does this translate to to different visual representations?
Sure, that's a great point.
Yeah, I'd like to add. I think of it as a more kind of broader concept, and I really appreciate I think I agree with what everyone said. So I would incorporate all those things into this concept. But I would add to that the broader concept I see is this kind of realization that virtuality in our lives has become a very strong component of what we think of as reality. So I think, right now we think of reality and we think of virtuality, and we think of those with a barrier, like back in the day, people, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to go online, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to connect and I'm going on the internet. It was like this journey that they went on, or this like different kind of activity almost, right? But I think in the future, the metaverse is going to be always on, persistent, and we're always going to be in it. And it's going to be very important for us, right? In a daily sense, in the sense that we're probably going to be earning money from it. We're going to have interoperable assets like Dirk, mentioned with NFTs. I think, all those comments that I think were made are all going to be characteristics of how we see that new life. And so that's kind of how I see it.
I will comment on that, and I totally agree with Hrish and Ericon and Inara and Dirk. This is very true. I come from an engineering background, and I think that the metaverse, it's not a space, it's more a moment in time and history when the different technologies are mature enough and when they are starting to converge, to merge the digital realms, the virtual realms with the physical realm to create a new reality. So this is the conception of the metaverse. So there is no multiple metaverses. We just have one metaverse, just like we have one internet. And the verses, like the universe, will be the the website of the metaverse, just like we have the website on the internet right now. So, and those different verses, we have SuperWorld verse, we have Metaverse, I mean Facebook verse, and we will have Upland verse, and yeah, and all of those verses will be the different component, the different construct of the metaverse.
Mm-hmm. So there's sort of tantamount to saying that a virtual world is to the metaverse as a website is to the internet, something like that. Would that be a
Yeah.
sort of acceptable way to characterize it?
Because what is a verse? I think that the verse, like SuperWorld verse or Upland verse, it's like an experiential ecosystem, formed by the assembly of all of the digital and immersive assets and platforms owned by a brand, a company, an organization, or individuals, or whatever. And people can interact with those verses in many ways. It could be just through your smartphone, to your laptop, or with augmented reality glasses, or on virtual reality with virtual reality headset. And all of those components constitute, the verse, like the website in the metaverse.
So I'd like to just add to that. I agree with everyone. I think first of all, I love Upland. It's such a positive name as well. SuperWorld. What do you think when you think SuperWorld, where everyone's happy, everything's sustainable? Great names. And I just want to add that I feel like Metaverse is our second chance to redefine internet and our interactions with it. And I think as long as we have people like us on the panel, we might actually be able to collaborate and do things that just don't work in the real world, unfortunately. So that would be my 2 cents.
That's fantastic. Thank you all of you for responding in that way, and I'm glad that we can all be in agreement. As a content director, I wanted to selfishly ask a question about content in the metaverse. I hear a lot of talk, in various spaces about, we're doing XYZ with this huge corporation or this organization or this company. And there hasn't been a whole lot of talk about the 6-7 billion plus content creators that will be, I think, contributing and in many ways the sort of hidden architects of this metaverse. And so I'm curious, that now these content creators have the tools to become, going from kind of consumer to prosumer. How each of you would you leverage, user collaboration? And more to the point, how do you see that happening? How would we facilitate, for lack of a better word, kind of incorporating all these content creators, and what would be the, what would be the how would we leverage those users?
I'll take the first. So I think, first of all, I think it's not a bad thing that brands are coming to the internet, because when you think about it, they will help to create, credibility. You can discuss as a good brand or bad brand, right? Of course, and what they do, but they give people orientation, just like in real life. That's the reason you have brands in real life, and also inspires, I think, people. What it's now would be interesting to see how open will the brands them up to potential creators, to the consumers you just mentioned, right? That they can take pieces of the brand and then create something new out of it. Let's say there's a partnership with a car brand or whatever in the metaverse, right? Are the consumers allowed now to take the car and to model it a little bit differently and so on, but and then resell it or just to become some kind of a car dealership vendor? Is that a difficult word? And so that's what is going to be exciting to see. But I think because when you start, I don't think we have to also think, hopefully 7 billion people or plus, whoever is going to come onto the metaverse, but not everyone is super creative, right? So I think very often they need inspirations by other people or by those brands. And I think when we are building, as operators building those worlds, we have to see that we set the foundation that it's easy to collaborate with brands, easy to collaborate between the players, right? So that this will help them to do something together, right? And that people from all over the world, different backgrounds, they can do something together which they were not able to do before because of the physical distance. So for instance, in Upland, when you build a house, you can actually stake what we have, tokens for others, right? So you can actually approach others, hey, let's build this house together. And these kind of things, I think, will help, to hopefully, bring also better understanding to the world in general, because all of a sudden, someone from Asia maybe really works close together with someone of Europe and someone of the US or wherever, right? Which are a completely different cultural background, but somehow they have the vision to build this one thing together. And that's really exciting to see. And that's why I think we've heard it many times, but why the internet is really, why the metaverse is the new, land of opportunity and of course of creativity.
Wonderful.
I'd just like to add to that, that we focus a lot on privacy, security, and collaboration as well on Digital Village. And I'm just looking forward to sort of seeing how the community actually interacts in the metaverse, because they are asking for a lot of agency, and we will give it to them. But with power comes responsibility. And I just want to highlight that when transitioning to a more sustainable world, it requires inclusivity. We can't cut out companies or the governments or the people. But the question is if everyone is willing to take that responsibility that they have to take, essentially, to make these communities work. So, just very curious about how communities on the long run will actually function, and if it will actually be more sustainable than our current environments and societies.
Sure. Takes a lot of faith.
So I would say that I think being more crypto native as an investor and interfacing with social tokens and DAOs and all those sorts of things, I think ultimately, the way that I see it is, perfect world, our interfaces that we exist with today are still applicable. So you have an app. That app gives you some sense of direction in your metaverse experience per that brand, per that that ecosystem and community. You immerse yourself in the metaverse in whatever way that is, entirely virtual, partially physical, whatever it is. But then the governance and operations on the back end is crypto native and blockchain based. And I just think, to me, that's the simple arc. And it's the governance area, the sort of tokenomics, the sort of decision making on how this metaverse, this community is built, and how this app feels, enabling you to always feel connected to this experience that you've co-created, is to me the formula. And I just get really excited about the crypto component to all of this cool, gnarly, dream making, because it's wow, there's an economy attached to this experience. There's upside if you're a part of this community. You can get in when the community is valued at $1. You can get in when the community is valued at $1,000. But the land that community is co-owning is also appreciating. It's just this concept of being on the internet and building wealth at the same time. That is what Audacity is just invigorated by. Like, we just know that there's so many content creators who've created so much value for multi-billion-dollar businesses. And frankly, a lot of those content creators have been young Black kids who've made TikTok, who've made Twitter, who've made Cash App, who've made LVMH, who've made Gucci. And it's like, for the first time coming on the internet, you can build wealth, acquire assets, and make money, and create a dream, and be a landowner, which, you know, like all of those things at the same time. So I think it's like, the creators are gonna like blow us away. We just need to make sure they have economic upside so we don't repeat the bullshit of the past. Right. Because frankly, communities like myself are tired of giving away all the sauce and everybody else stacking billions while we sit here empty-handed. So I think, watch multicultural communities, watch Gen Z, watch the Gen after that, and see what they do. But just make sure it's like, we got to make sure the crypto component is there so that they're economically aligned to become the next generation of wealth builders through the metaverse that can literally finance the next generation of Metaverse 2.0 that they're the best to like invest in and build.
That's a great point. It can be a great equalizer, can it? But we have to make sure that we steer it in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Just to echo what Ericon said, like, I also had the same thought, is that we have built, well, the internet that we're operating within right now has a completely backwards incentive structure in terms of who ends up putting all the value into a platform that makes it actually valuable, and then who are the shareholders. So like, the board and the shareholders are just the motivators behind actually funding and making the platform move forward. But the real shareholders always have been the users, because they spend the most of the time actually making the platform valuable. So content is the reason that the facilitators, aka platforms, actually are able to grow over time. So when you start to reroute the way that value is distributed around the internet, you're also changing the way communities function in real life. So as much as people say, like, we don't want to live more in a digital world, like, there's reality that needs, you know, fixing and helping. So like, we shouldn't be going deeper into the internet. But I always think of them as parallel realities, that one feeds off of the other. So I don't think the attempt is never to recreate the beauty of what the real world is or to replace it altogether, but to instead use this as an additional layer to motivate action that can be reflected positively both in digital and in physical spaces.
You know, I think those are all amazing points as well. I think, you know, what's interesting is that we're all on this call, and in a way, we're creators, we're users, right, of the metaverse. And, you know, how can we, and thank you so much for all being here. And, you know, again, I think our view and philosophy is we all work together. We all build this together, and we all own this together. And, you know, what'd be cool is, like, how can we as people here who are building as creators, you know, again, work with each other. That's kind of exciting to me, is, you know, Dirk, you know, Eric and Evelyn, Anara, Teddy, you know, Tyler, whoever, like, all creators here of platforms and of, you know, content and of different aspects of this. Can we work together to even make it better, right? And that's exciting, because I think that's what's going to happen, is we're going to make our products and our, you know, activations, all of these things better when we cooperate and think of new ways that we can improve the metaverse and own it. And really, you know, I think we have an opportunity. We have a fundamental opportunity right now to really make things better for everyone in so many different ways. And I think, Ericon, as you said, you know, the accessibility and ownership of the metaverse is very important.
People ask, what's the newest trend? And I think, like, people are like, DeFi and like all, you know, metaverse and all that other stuff. It's literally like collective. Like, I don't know that many people have ever trusted the power of community unless they've needed it for survival. And the communities that I come from as an African, as an immigrant, and all those other things, I've always been in community because that's the only way I survive. And so, like, it's very inherent for me. But for a lot of people, like, community building is a new skill that they need to go to workshops to learn. You know what I mean? Because they're not used to being in a sort of like you win, I win type of a setup. And I think, like, we are a walking case study as we plot and build and literally acquire plots, you know, and say, this is like the best time for co-op type people. You know what I mean? It's like, long live the hippies, yo. It's our time. It's our time.
That's awesome.
Teddy, did you have any thoughts? That you
Yeah,
wanted to say, or?
of course. I agree with all of you guys. I know that we have, private conversation about this, all the time, and which is very true. I think that the metaverse, it's really our chance to do things in a better way, obviously, because it's a medium that will help us basically. I won't say that we will solve all the issues of the world with the metaverse, but this is the opportunity to do something better, because it's about having access to knowledge, wealth distribution, just as Erica mentioned, and we have to think also about individual rights, and also how we can empower underserved community to have access to all of those things that we are quite privileged to have access, because we live in it on a daily basis and we don't realize that we are the top tier, people on the planet, which is very true. But what about the other ones? And we cannot. We succeed when all of us succeed, and it's about this. And this is a new opportunity for humankind at large, and the impact of this medium is tremendous, because we can basically look. Let's just take a quick example. The biggest transportation company on the planet, Uber, doesn't own any car, any physical assets, but they totally disrupt an entire industry. So think about how we can provide health care to people all across the planet, how we can give them access to banking and all of this stuff. We have to think about how we can use technology to make the world a better place. Just as simple.
Oh, sorry, Teddy. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, no, I think that's a wonderful point you made. And I think that, listening just now, it's funny how I think many of us are unfamiliar with the notion of going from competition to collaboration. It's for so long it's been competition, and I think that there's a little bit of culture shock, because people are, we get asked at SuperWorld all the time, so who are your biggest competitors, or who's coming up that you're worried about, and then the answer is nobody. We're blockchain agnostic, platform agnostic. We love having, obviously, Upland here. We've done things with other NFT platforms, and the notion of collaboration can be really foreign to a lot of people who aren't familiar with the architecture of this grander plan in the metaverse. And so it's really exciting to see, to blow people's minds in a way that's not a kind of, we did XYZ, but we're working with XYZ, And so it's great to hear. And again, thank you all for your responses on that. And I wanted to kind of move into the next question, and that it goes more specifically toward something we care very deeply about at SuperWorld, which is building a better world in real life through the metaverse. And so I'm curious to hear from all of you how you envision the metaverse benefiting everything from the environment to at-risk communities, to government decision making, finance, education. You don't have to address all of those, of course, but if you'd like to, that's great. But I would love to hear some specifics about how you've either thought of or implemented ways that this grander notion of the metaverse, and I think we've touched on it a little bit, but how the grander notion of the metaverse can benefit.
I can go ahead and answer to that. First of all, Tyler, what a nice comment that you made. I think this panel itself is a big message to everyone that, we're here to collaborate. Yeah. And having said that, communication is super important. As we all know, there is this hype of the metaverse that is just this train that is going like 1 gazillion kilometers per hour, and we're all trying to keep up. But in fact, I think what we communicate and how we communicate about it is a huge responsibility. It's part of sustainability, because you have to educate people. You have to educate the public sector. How can they adapt crypto? Why they should adapt crypto? How is that going to benefit climate change? How do we collectively need to work together to tackle climate change? This is not a one man or woman job. So I think a topic of sustainability is really complicated in terms of how everything is so interconnected and interdisciplinary. And like Erica was mentioned before, that how it's like part of our physical lives, the internet. So I think that in general, in Digital Village, we want to tick all those boxes. And many investors have told us that, you know what, that's so ambitious. You have to have one thing and go with that. And we were very persistent and stubborn. And we said, you know what, no, actually, but if you want to make this work, if you want NFTs to work, you need utility. If you want people to communicate and build societies and communities, you need to give them these editor tools. So all these things come together and create this one world that actually can push for more sustainable development in the physical world and digital world. But I'm going to just leave it there, because Inara knows I can go on.
No, I'm so glad you started off with sustainability, because I think as we're building out an ecosystem, it is very important to understand how it's actually going to impact the world. So the way I see is that we have an urgent need to dematerialize, or to also to remove some of the aspect of physical production of product and assets that is just wasteful. A lot of it is just like incredibly inefficient. And the way I see the metaverse is that it can give us an opportunity to reduce production of physical objects where they are not needed and where they can be replaced. So swaying public opinion to get people to buy less stuff is a much slower process after we've ignited a desire within them to constantly, feel like that they're not enough until they obtain XYZ object. And the metaverse essentially can be a proto playground or proto opportunity to be able to simulate different ideas and designs for how can things function within education systems, within governments, within productions and manufacturing, to be able to implement those new designs in the physical realm.
Yeah, I think exactly. So just concretely what we're doing at Upland, for instance, we were offsetting, the blockchain energy consumption, this things we've done things with the community together, supporting, fight against cancer. Actually, it was an initiative by the community. So there's a lot of good things we can do, in, let's say, I tend to say a little bit in the traditional way, right, supporting that. I think what is much more interesting going forward is also when we manage to set the incentives that I think was indirectly said also, that in the metaverse, the way we build the economies and everything, everyone has an incentive, right, to do something in a either sustainable way, or at the end of the day to open up these new kinds of opportunities for people who cannot really be part of the great wealth creation in certain countries in the world. Now you have really all around the world who have now the opportunity to join that. And I think if we can give people the opportunity to, they simply said, to make money so they can sustain their life while they supporting either sustainability efforts or other social things. I think then we achieved a lot building this new metaverse. That's my view here.
Which is very true. What I do is that I advise brand and company on how they can onboard into the metaverse, like how they can perform better into the digital age. And one of the things which is becoming more and more important with the concept of the metaverse is, what is the concept of a business into the metaverse? because more and more it will become important for them to define what they are as a business, what they do, what is the value proposition, but most of all, what is the mission and what are the values they stand for. Just as Erica and Inara and Evelyn mentioned, and I think that Jake too, it's all about the community. So, what do you provide to the community? But now that we have the medium that will give us the option to create whole worlds into the digital space, how would you incarnate your company as an entity into that new space? Will you be like the Sahara? Will it be like the North Pole? Will it be, I mean, it's about the identity of the company and the values the company stand for. Because if we create those worlds, I mean, it's just like any website. If you don't have any visitor, you won't have, I mean, you won't perform, as a business. So you have to create all of this with a very urgent sense of purpose. You have to create this world with purpose. And creating this world with purpose goes beyond just doing business and selling stuff, And it's about how you improve the life of your customer, but they are not customers no more because they are part of the ecosystem. Because even a country without any people in the country won't be a country. So this is it. So if you build this world, you have to populate it. And in order for this world to be populated, just like Upland is populated, it's about giving value, giving the power back to your community. And they are not customers no more. So how do you take care of your community? How do you help them improve their life? It's all about this. And to really thrive into the metaverse era, no company will pass that. They have to pass the test, definitely, because this is the new iteration of the internet, and if it comes with a more sense of presence, immersiveness, and all of this, you have to think about it.
Teddy for the president, everyone!
Yay!
Come on,
Teddy.
Yes.
And just to highlight what Teddy said, I think is really important, is asking yourself as a company and also asking other companies and keeping them accountable, saying, how do you care for your customer base and your community? Because that is not a question companies get asked. It's usually, show us your ROI or show us your metrics, how engaged is your community, but what kind of impact are you actually having on this? Because I think that if we look at the most technologically advanced system known to us today, it's not the internet, it's nature. Nature functions in insane, using its ability to be symbiotic to withstand changes all of the time. So if your system, especially if it's a hierarchy, fully depends on the conditions being right and is not resilient, then it's not the most efficient and technologically advanced system. So I think there's a lot we can borrow from the way that nature functions as well.
That's great. Actually, before we get the next response, I wanted to welcome Hrish back from the Abyss. And in addition, I'd like to welcome Sebastian Bourget, the founder and co-founder and COO of The Sandbox, who we've all heard of. Sebastian, thank you for joining us.
Never better late than never. Apologies,
Absolutely.
everyone. I've been struggling with the train, but yeah, I wanted to be part today with everyone. It's a great round table with many familiar faces.
Well, we're excited to have you. And we were, in fact, I was just kind of going through our panel here, talking about how the metaverse can in particular benefit, everything from the environment to at-risk communities. And so we're having a discussion about that and how each of your platforms and interests, how we can incorporate the metaverse into doing good in real life. And so we've been just having a discussion about that. I apologize. I'm not sure how long you've been listening, Sebastian. So if that's a repeat, I apologize.
No worry. I guess happy to share a few things that we've been doing at Sandbox. We've definitely tried to give back to community, to support various charities through the use of NFTs and our virtual world. Those efforts has been extending from buying back carbon credits on Nori platform, launching NFTs where not just 100% of the proceed, but 200% of the proceed, meaning whatever the user buys, we will top it to give back and support various causes. Providing 1% of all our land proceed to support We Forest charity to replant forests in Amazonia, in Madagascar, and other parts of the world. Supporting with UNICEF as well. We did a land sale where I believe the land has been sold back then for $100,000, all proceeds going to UNICEF for contributing to education of kids. And recently, for example, we just acquired the CyberKong 201 NFT for $800,000, 185 ETH, 100% of the proceeds going back to support the Foundation for Gorilla Protection as well. And well, in the broader manner, I think like we're trying to make Sandbox and in general the ecosystem accessible to anyone, so it creates new jobs opportunities, makes a positive impact in some people's life. Some of them who lost jobs during pandemic and could find into those new digital nation, like you described, a way to reconvert themselves, to learn new skills, to provide value to communities, to find maybe their inner motivation and do good around them.
Amazing. And I would also add that I think ultimately the metaverse is going to be a really transformative experience for culture. And obviously Sandbox has some case studies as well with some of your recent partnerships where culture and fashion and Evelyn and Anara, you all are working also in really great spaces where I think we can't forget that like everyone on this planet exudes or interfaces with culture in some way, whether you listen to a song, you watch a movie, you like go to a grocery store, like all of those things have cultural elements and nuances in them. And I think that's the on-ramp to crypto. That's the on-ramp to AR, VR, XR, et cetera. That's the on-ramp to the metaverse. And with Audacity, my venture fund, we're just really excited to be investing in people who are seeing culture to be the on-ramp to all of these new experiences and enabling the cultural experiences and the diversity of our lives to be something that is widely experienced across the metaverse, so that you can walk around the metaverse and experience not only worlds of people's minds, but literally representations of this like massive planet that holds probably soon 9 billion people and all these various things. So I think that's like, I just want to get to a point where we don't have to talk about like,
if the Wi-Fi's working again or not?
Wi-Fi's working. We need Wi-Fi.
So the power's out.
But I just look forward to when we get to a point where we don't have to talk about underserved communities and disenfranchised communities. And, I think climate change will be a conversation for a very long time, so don't want to take that away. But I think these things happen because people don't have access to like the abundance of the world. And like, I think by being in this environment where there's infinite opportunity to walk around and experience, you're going to be able to immerse yourself in a geisha house. You're going to be able to immerse yourself in like a diamond mine. You're going to be able to immerse yourself in like outer space, and all of that be in a span of 3 hours. You know what I mean? And so like, I think these things are going to transform the way we think and hopefully be the best on-ramp for everyone to feel seen. I just think the biggest thing though is that, to your point, Teddy, we have to recognize our privilege, and you can't just, I think one thing that's challenging as a fund that's also starting to work with brands and how they think about their metaverse strategy, I just think it's important that we don't just look at the like capital gains and like, oh, this is going to make me look good for my career and it'll make my like studio look really good because we're partnering with brands, and then like completely forget that there's 8 billion people that like literally deserve to get access to what we have access to. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to hold everybody accountable. and say that I'll be very uninspired if in 10 years from this meeting, we bolster our pockets, we get all our clout, we get all of our awards, and our respective efforts from this call does not make a seismic shift happen on this planet. I'm just going to say in 10 years, I'll be judging you. So.
That's right. Remind me of this tweet in 10 years, right?
If Twitter still exists into the metaverse, we don't know.
Hey.
It might be on a platform.
I wanted to welcome, I just saw Krista has now joined us. Welcome, Krista. She is a contemporary artist and founder of Techism. Techism is an art movement that reconciles technological innovation with the creation of art. And aside from being a wildly talented artist and evangelist for Web3 and the metaverse, Krista is also a global ambassador here at SuperWorld. Thank you so much for coming to see us, Krista.
Hi, thank you so much. I loved what Erica was saying. I totally agree. I think that, you know, when we're thinking about building Web3, we have to think of it as one of the greatest art projects of human history, one of the greatest creative renaissances in human history that is empowering all of us. It is egalitarian. It is built on a blockchain system that allows us to have full sovereignty and ownership over our creative intellectual property and our creative destiny. So I believe that we also have to consider that we're creating culture and that culture should be humane. And that's why art should be at the forefront of this movement so that it doesn't become a giant shopping mall or a casino, that in fact we're actually creating value in the lives of billions of people around the world, an opportunity to monetize, live fulfilling, enhanced, beautiful lives through AR, through XR, through this incredible technology that will allow us to really enhance not only our own experience, you know, we're going to receive many new inspirations of a transcendent culture where we are transcending all the boundaries and all the limitations of the real world, whether it's political, religious, you know, gender bias, whatever. I think that we can all transcend all of these limitations and really create an incredible new evolution of human civilization.
Love it. And Hrish, we've got you back from the void. You want to try to chime in before you get sucked out again?
I hope so. I'm in Puerto Rico, and they just lost power in this whole area. So I guess we do need power in the metaverse.
Yes.
Oh,
like the metaverse is the greatest equalizer of provide like unique chance to anyone to just be on the same, like almost a reboot, a rebirth. And well, you still need electricity and a computer at this time to enter it. But after that, once you're just an avatar and people see you just as an avatar, all that matters is the skills, the value you contribute through the creativity, through the engagement, through your presence, through how you animate those worlds. And it doesn't matter your religion, where you're born, if you're male, female, like which school you are, your social status, the political situation of your country. So that's, I think, really interesting to consider as well.
Hrish is frozen again.
She has a great smile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speak quickly now.
Yeah, sorry guys. This is like I'm in Puerto Rico, and I guess you need power in the metaverse. Lost power in this neighborhood. Yeah, I think the one message I really wanted to say is that the open metaverse is what's beautiful about this, and we need to support everyone in the.
There it goes.
I think the last word was community. He was going to say. I don't know what he was.
I think that he's in the worst place of the metaverse, into a black hole or something like this.
Well, I think we have to remember that like the majority of the world lives in an environment like Puerto Rico, where it's like, you know, power is spotty, and it is a big deal to have a computer, and it is a lot to say that in order to participate in the metaverse, you need to have a smartphone, or you need to have access to crypto, or you need to so we're kind of like fooling ourselves, to be very honest, sometimes when we're like, yeah, it's just like we could build wealth. Woo! It's just like sometimes you have to have a little cash to put that towards Bitcoin or put that towards ETH. And even then, if you're not putting tens of thousands of dollars, you're not going to see the full-fledged upside. So I think even just this moment, you being in Puerto Rico is really important, because there's a lot of people in Puerto Rico right now doing deals, getting excited about all the metaverse opportunities, when there's real people who are dealing with the impact of like hurricanes from 2 years ago, where there was like an entire campaign to help Puerto Rico not like drown. So I just think like we can't get so outside of the reality, like in banter and sort of like tongue in cheek, and forget that like there's island people who live in Puerto Rico who don't have power because they don't have a generator. So what is really the metaverse for them? And then it goes back to the accountability of like, in 10 years, I'm going to hold y'all accountable to what we were able to do with our respective platforms.
I think it's really important to educate everyone about DAOs. Totally. And I think that DAOs will transform the world, where communities that are suffering, who are really underprivileged in technology and access to Wi-Fi, DAOs can actually empower them to create infrastructure. DAOs can actually solve the problems that governments have failed for hundreds of years. So I think that DAOs and community engagement, community governance, community sovereignty, and building infrastructure and bringing that into the metaverse is very powerful. And it's going to change the world, where it's going to be people power, making their lives better for each other. So that takes education also. So I think that a lot of us have to realize that a lot of what we have to do going forward for the next 10 years is be advocates and educate.
Yeah,
and just
second
to
that,
add
I think.
Go ahead, Dirk. I was just going to quickly say that what we're all just mentioned, all the technology, even looking at DAOs, this goes directly up against the current models that we're working in right now. So it just will show you how big of a seismic shift and how big of a departure this is from centralized systems, governments, the way things function, when we start to talk about global audiences and also movement of resources and money and knowledge towards communities that have been either asking for it or never been able to get to it. So I know like this is a Masters of the Metaverse panel, which is a very generous title, I think, to give to anybody right now, because Metaverse is very much work in progress, but none of us have a crystal ball. However, it's very obvious how every single building block that is being built right now from both the side of crypto, augmented reality, visualization of information, digital spaces is opening up not just what the internet gave us access to, but like one step further, which is fundamentally changing systems in the real world as much as in the digital space.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I mean, education is everything. I mean, to be quite, self-critical, right? We're somehow the digital elite, right? We understand crypto, we understand how to onboard, how to use computers, and so on. But just in countries, when people are, let's say, a certain age, I mean, they will not have really that access to it, right? How do we get older people on it as well, right? Not just the young people who are super crypto, aficionados and whatever. People who live in Africa, right, who don't have even the money to buy a computer, right? How can they, how can you get them on board and get them excited about the concepts, and how do you convey the concepts, right? Because right now everything's so complicated, right? Passphrases, private keys. This is nothing the market will adopt really, right? And I think that's actually up to us also to make it really simple and hopefully also equal and support efforts, right? I don't know, just making up this, that you have internet cafes or whatever in certain countries where people cannot afford computers, right? At least they can go there and be part of it, right? And I think that's what we have to work on together.
That's such a beautiful point, Dirk. And can I just mention that I think that one of the focuses should be an educated woman, because when you empower women around the world, they're going to teach their kids and they're going to share with other women. I think it's the woman of these communities that can be a backbone and a real partner, strategically to educate children and give their children the advantages and have them be involved in educating them in computers and changing their communities. So female empowerment and supporting women, mothers, I think is a great strategy.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I'm also really big on that as well. In addition to the fact that in many communities around the world, the people that control the money in any household, just like bar none, is the female, is the woman. So like, I think just like literally to put it into like business terms for folks who need to hear that, it's like a growth hack. It's a marketing strategy to target and speak to women. And it's like literally currently in blockchain, I'm just appalled at the level at which people aren't targeting demographics outside of the existing early adopters, because like women are going to make all of this go viral. And it's just like, why haven't you talked to us yet? And it's just like, it's just crazy to me, but it's okay. We're working on some things over at Audacity that we hope can unlock some of the things you're saying, Krista. And this is just really cool. Thanks for all of these perspectives.
Yeah, this has been really wonderful. And you know, against every inclination I have, I think we've got to wrap it up here. I'm not sure exactly if, okay, good. It's been over an hour and they still haven't shut it down. So that's great. But I wanted first to relay a message from Hrish, who said that he, you know, we love the open metaverse and all of you and can't wait to build it together so we can create an empowered, inclusive community around the world. And, you know, I think that, of course, jives what we've all been talking about here. And I would love to continue this discussion, and we will. We're going to be having these. We haven't determined a regular schedule, but we would love to have a Masters of the Metaverse event as often as possible, but recognize that there's time constraints and obligations for many of you. But we're really looking forward to having this again. And I know that there's some questions in the comments here. If anybody wants to stay on and address any of those, I'm just kind of looking at them myself. But otherwise, I want to thank everybody. And you know, Hrish, I'm sorry that you were sucked into the void there in Puerto Rico. But this has been really valuable to hear. I'm honored to have been here to listen to you. And I know I can speak for the whole audience out there when I say this has really been enlightening and a lot of fun. And let's. Can
I just add one thing?
Absolutely, Krista, please.
So, Sebastian just put in the chat a really good point that, you know, the people building the metaverse, it's everyday you and I who are the masters of the universe, of the metaverse. People who are actually participating as sovereign beings, individuals in the metaverse, they are the masters of the metaverse. It's the collective, we, the individuals that make the collective. So that's a wonderful thing. The master of the metaverse is you.
Yeah.
This is exactly what
the people.
I'm saying. It's all about the people.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Love it. You know, Krista said something because we had a chat. Well, it was like last week. She said something. So please let me quote you, Krista. She said, let me take the quote. You don't colonize the metaverse. You create it. And you create it with the people by serving the people. The metaverse is an extension of the universe itself, and nobody can own it.
Yes.
She said it all.
Yes.
So thank you for those wild words.
Goosebumps. Thank you so much for having us. And Eric, and see you in 10 years.
Yay! Come on, y'all. Let's go! Woohoo!
Hopefully a few more times before that. But
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays.
Bye, everyone.
Great job, everybody. See you next year.
See you. Bye-bye.